Guys, can we have a round of applause for our first guest speaker, Tristan White, the founder of fibreHR. Thank you very much, Tristan.
Wayne, thank you very much. And guys, it's wonderful to be here tonight. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you. I want to talk about my story because as founders, our story is the starting point, the birth, the passion, the destination of sometimes that we get to. So first things first is I have a question let me make sure I'm on the right slide, there we go. I've got a question. Are there any dreamers in the room? Oh yes, I like that, thank you. The reason I tell you about that is that I also am a dreamer. And with your permission, I'd like to tell you about my very first career dream as a starting point for where we kick this presentation off. Is that okay? Perfect. So my story goes something like this. I was not a born entrepreneur. I grew up in a small town called Foster in South Gippsland down near Wilson's Promontory. Does anyone know where Foster is? Oh yeah, it's a nice little joint. And so I grew up there. My mum and my dad and my sister, and we were not business owners, we were not entrepreneurs, we were not risk takers. But I grew up, I went to primary school, went to high school, in the bush, 1,000 friendly people live in Foster. And I moved to Melbourne to study physiotherapy. And physiotherapy is an important part of my story. I am a physiotherapist and I studied for 5 years at uni. And when I finished uni, this is where my first career dream started. I had this dream, it was sort of like a 10-year dream. And that was, I would qualify as a physiotherapist. I would do my time in a large teaching hospital like the Royal Melbourne Hospital or like the Alfred and learn the ropes as a junior physio. I'd then move slowly but surely towards sports physiotherapy, and hopefully after 10 years or so, I would be a partner or working at a busy sports practice that helped elite athletes to be the best they can be. Of course, that dream had an important piece of cream or cherry on top, and that was that I am a mighty Richmond Tigers supporter. So I certainly hoped that the Tigers were going to need me as their physio to run out on the G to help Dusty and Rance and Captain Koch to do their thing. But as a dreamer, as Dr. Seuss tells us, you have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself in any direction you choose. And at the end of that, heading to uni, I felt that I had a real conflict with my head and my heart. My head and the heart conflict was, my head told me I need to go in my career direction. My heart told me I didn't stomach the idea of working in a public hospital system. It just didn't feel right to me. Maybe, just maybe, there was an entrepreneur, a risk taker in there somewhere. And so I skipped forward and I left the idea of the public hospital job behind, and I moved back home to Gippsland. And I worked in a group of private practices where I got to see sports people, work in an elite AFL footy club in the evenings and on weekends, and I got to do a little bit of hospital and aged care work. And that first job was such a blessing and such a challenge because I loved it and then I sort of hated it. And after 1 year, in the job that I thought was going to take me 10 odd years to get to, I fell out of love with my career dream. I had this huge conflict of head and heart, and I left that job. I moved home to live with my mum and my dad in friendly Foster. I had no job. I didn't have a direction for my career. And I told all my mates that I was heading to a career in sports medicine or in sports physiotherapy. That was a really, really, really tough time. But what I did, I reflected hard. I thought about what I enjoyed doing as a physiotherapist. I didn't tell a soul because I was embarrassed about what I discovered, but I discovered that I liked working with older people. Older people like this fella here. This is George. George represents an older fella that I started working with in a nursing home in 2004. So after leaving what I thought was my dream career direction, having, let's call it a sabbatical, at home with my mum and dad, I started working in a small old nursing home in the northern suburbs of Melbourne. And I met George. George's an older bloke, needed some help to get around, was bent at the knees, a bit of a lean to the left, and really hard work for George to get around. But I started working with him as his physiotherapist, helping him to improve his strength, his balance, his endurance, and his happiness. And I loved working with George. And so over the next year, I worked with George, his roommate Les, and some other residents of this nursing home. And then I got busier, going to other nursing homes and other nursing homes. And after the first year, I needed to ask for help. I couldn't help all the Georges and Leses and Mavises that I needed to help. And it was that point that the Physio Co, that is today with close to 150 team members helping people like George to stay mobile, safe and happy, was born from me swallowing my pride, reflecting on what was important to me, and being humble enough to dive in to what made my heart sing. And that early pivot from sports physiotherapy, the elite end of my profession, to the ugly duckling of my profession, to aged care, was a really important part of my career journey. And so, as the Physio Co started, this was a flying by the seat of your pants adventure of growing a team. I had no idea what culture was. I learned about culture about 5 years or 6 years in. All I was doing, serving my clients as best I could, saying yes to opportunity, encouraging people to join our team and moving forward in the fastest, most effective way I could. I created something that from the outside looked growing, impressive, helpful, useful. From the inside, I'd created a big mess. Anyone found themselves in a mess in their career or business? Oh yeah, we know messes. We know messes. So in 2009, I started the Physio Co in 2004. 5 years in, got about 20 team members. No idea what culture is, didn't really know what this business stuff was, but just doing my very best. I got to a point I felt completely trapped and stuck inside our business. Either this entrepreneurial thing wasn't for me, or I had to figure it out and find a better way. I'm a bit of a tackle a problem and get stuck into it sort of bloke. And so I did something which was one of the biggest risks I've ever taken in my business career. That was I left. I didn't leave forever, but I left for 3 weeks. I went from Melbourne to North America. I visited some seniors healthcare businesses in America and in Canada. A wonderful, wonderful business called Nifty After 50. A chain of gyms for older people in Orange County, California. And I also went up to Vancouver and I checked out a business called Nurse Next Door, which is a nursing business for older people. I came back and I had my solution. I had the idea. I was going to create a values-based business, purpose-driven, values-based business, which would be the solution, the foundation of how we would then scale, grow, and tidy up this big fat mess that I'd created. And that, if there's one learning from my career from a business perspective, it is choose a model, choose an idea, choose something to follow along in terms of them. I don't have all the answers. I never have and I never will, but other people have done it. And if someone's done it before, learn from them, grow from them, tailor it to what you can do, but really, really do learn from others. So this is a young Tristo working with oldies in nursing homes. But what we do today is very, very similar, and that is people all over the country helping older people, just like on the screen. What I've just described is what I called the 5th year struggle. And it's nice to give names to challenges in your life, once you've moved through them. At the time, it's like hell. But like we all know, when you're going through hell, keep on going. And so that's what we move to. And one of the things I want to tie in today, and there's so many things that we can share, and when we get to the Q&A is certainly a time for that. But one thing I want to describe about having a strong culture, purpose-driven, values to guide the behaviours in every business, but it's so very important that we have a really clear vision as to where the business is headed. Because how the hell can any team members follow, grow, challenge themselves and move the business in the direction they want it to go if they don't know what the vision is and where they're going? So as the founder, that's our job, is to clarify, communicate and over-communicate and over-communicate and over-communicate, and then do it again as to where we're headed. And so a quick story about the vision from the perspective of my experience and from the Physio Co. And that is, I reckon that we need a pretty long-term goal. Now, Jim Collins, in his famous book, Good to Great, talks about a big, hairy, audacious goal. And a BHAG should be between 10 and 25 years or thereabouts. I'm now a risk taker, but not that big a risk taker. So I hung on the 10-year end. And so a 10-year obsession as our North Star, where we're headed. So if a challenge comes up, are we going to work through what is our core purpose? To help seniors stay mobile, safe and happy. Great. Let's continue with that purpose. Behaviours, core values, we know exactly how we should be acting. And a vision, where are we headed? And so a 10-year obsession is what we created in 2009. And the 10-year obsession for the Physio Co was from our little team of 20 people to grow at 35% per year for 10 consecutive years, so that at the end of 2018, we will have delivered 2 million consultations to help Australian seniors stay mobile, safe and happy. That's a big goal. We've been tracking it for 10 years and making good progress. We have had years where we have smashed the yearly goal, and we've had years where it's really sucked and we've really struggled. But where we are right now, almost at the 10-year obsession, is we are close to 1.5 million consultations delivered since 2009, with our goal of 2 million consults by the end of this year. It is likely that we'll land at 1.6 million consultations delivered to Australian seniors in aged care homes, retirement villages and their own homes between 2009 and 2018, which is partly disappointing and partly completely fine, because we will likely hit 2 million consults the 31st of December 2019, and it may just take us 11 years to hit our 10-year goal. And I, for one, think that is A-okay. And what we've grown, our business has grown from 20 people to close to about 150. We're going to deliver over 2 million consults in 11 years. We've won wonderful awards for being a great place to work, but all of that means nothing if we're not serving our community and helping seniors stay mobile, safe and happy and creating a great place to work. And it's been a wonderful experience to deliver for 10 years to be one of Australia's best places to work. There's something I want to mention, and that is, here's some of the Physio Co team at our own conference. And for me, 2 weeks ago, to have our group at Amy Park, not far from here, and have over 100 people in a room, a full day of learning, flying in from all around the country, was a wonderful, wonderful, proud experience. But this is not about celebrating, this is about sharing experience. And so from my end, my perspective, there's been so many things I've had to learn as a person, as a physiotherapist, as a team leader, as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, as a husband, as a father, as a volunteer. But the one thing that I think I'd love to share as the most significant thing that I've had to figure out, and this is an idea of mine, and that is that in any team or any relationship, there's this never-ending continuum between caring for and focusing on the people in your team at one end, and at the very other end is outcome or business performance. And in my experience, I spend most of my time or more of my time caring for and spending too much time. I naturally gravitate towards the people end of the spectrum, which is probably why I'm a physiotherapist in the first place, and probably part of this strong business we've achieved. But in some really tough times, some crap times where there's cash is getting tight, we're having difficult moments with clients, retention, our team might be having dips because we've had all those challenges. Sometimes I find myself focusing more and more and more on the numbers and the business performance. And when I focus on that end, we lose momentum on the culture. But when I focus too much time on caring for and engaging with our individual team members, we don't always get the business outcomes that we're looking for, with the performance we're looking for. And so if there's one learning from me, is be really clear that there is this continuum of people end and business outcome end. And if you spend too much time focusing on one of the other, then you don't have that balance right. And I learned that from a business perspective, but it applies to nearly everything in my life, to the people in my team, the team in general, the people, individual executives in my team, the physiotherapists. I've got 3 little kids at home, and if I don't engage with them in a way which is both caring and making sure that I'm leading them and helping them in the right direction, our relationship doesn't work out. So I think this introduction to my journey from startup of one person, grow to 20 people, get completely stuck, have a huge mess, then figure out a solution, being a values-based business, and work through it, is the message, the really important learning that I want to share with you. And that is that it's hard, but it can be done. And if someone else has done it, you can do it too. And I've had an interview with a wonderful, wonderful mentor of mine just a couple of weeks ago. Her name is Emma Isaacs from Business Chicks. And I said to Em, what is the one piece of advice you wish you'd known a long time ago? And she said, to believe in myself. And as I reflect on that conversation with Emma Isaacs and I think about my own journey, that's one thing that I haven't done enough of, and that is believe in myself, care for myself, look after myself, learn, grow, challenge, stretch, rest, and do it all again, because that's the job that we've got as individuals, as humans, and as business owners. So I reckon I'm going to say thank you very much for having me. Look forward to the Q&A, and thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.